Oh, there he is.
Just again.
Okay, cool. Let's do this thing. All right, 7:02. All right, let's call this meeting to order. I'll call it to order. Did everybody get a chance to look over the agenda? Got any additions, changes, comments? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Motion to approve the
Approval of the agenda.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Here.
Did everybody get a chance to look over the minutes from the last meeting we had way back in August? That is true.
That.
Yes. The last official meeting. Can I get an approval?
I make
Of
a
those
motion that we approve
minutes?
the minutes from August 26th and from November 25th.
Can I? Thanks. All in favor?
Uh,
All right, do we have any public comments? Public comment? Nothing? Okay. Cool. We got any announcements?
Announcements, but I was just going to turn it over to Vice Chair Laura Moore, who graciously attended the budget visioning session for town council. Was that last week? Last week. That was just last week. Yeah, last week. So I'll just give you the opportunity to give a little update to you.
Sure, I was able to speak to council and thank them for their support of parks because they have really done a good job of approving things that we have put before them, and they were very appreciative of that. I had talked to Nicole a little bit before that meeting, and so we talked over a little bit about kind of how to prep and let them know what we as parks are wanting. And we wanted to let them know that phase 1 will be beginning soon of the expansion, and they're excited about that. I wanted to let them know, especially to keep us informed of things that come up that they want to look at, such as a cell tower. They discussed it in their meeting, but we didn't get to discuss it as a board. So I wanted to let them know that anything parks related that they please bring to us and we can discuss, and we will in turn keep them informed of what we are discussing. And they asked us to please do that because they are not sure what steps are going to be involved, like in the phases. They do want to know that. So I told them that we would definitely keep them in the loop and they would keep us in the loop. We would be appreciative of that. See, wanted to wanted to let them know about, we as a park want to continually look for spaces for green space. You know, the expansion is not the only thing on our list. We still have that vision of finding other places in Mills River that would be helpful to our residents to have the green space, walking trails, bike paths, anything that is green space. We are continually looking for that. Didn't really say a lot about that, but I just put that out there so that we can, let them know this is not the only thing we're doing. And then I also talked to them about a program, Nicole and I had talked about Friends of Mills River. I don't know if any of you remember, before the park started or as it was beginning, we had a group called Friends of Mills River that would come around. They sent out postcards is what I remember, to raise funds for the park and for things happening here with the town. And that ended up disbanding after a few years, and they raised quite a bit of money. And so I put that out there. They love that idea, just getting a group together to raise funds, because we are going to need a lot of money for all the projects we have going on. So they seemed really excited about that and would really like to start a program such as Friends of Mills River. So that's something that we can look at in the future to to rinse fun.
Know anybody who does that.
To lead this program, it would be a great thing for us. Apart to get started. Anything you'd like to add, Nicole?
No, I'll just add, during the budget meeting, this was just that first initial meeting with council and kind of see what wants to be included in the budget, and they understand a lot of these big asks that we are asking for in the upcoming, not just this year, but in future years, park expansion, and just overall, they seem very supportive of it and understand the community's wants and needs and want us, and they want find a way to figure out how to make it happen. So that was very encouraging. They definitely showed a lot of support during that meeting, which was great.
We were given 10 minutes. I thought it was 10 minutes for all of the boards, and it ended up, we were the only one. So we were given 10 minutes. We took about 15 minutes. So that was good.
So this is our first meeting of the year. We obviously got snowed out last month. So we did not have our January meeting, but per bylaws, we have to elect a chair and a vice chair, and adopt a meeting schedule for the calendar year at our first meeting of the year. So here we are. So I'll turn it over to you. You all, it is completely up to you.
Anyone itching to?
I think they're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
No term limits, are there?
You all, but we do need a motion and a second and a vote. To the name.
Let me make motions.
Make Tristan chair and Margaret vice chair.
I second.
You're making it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Motion one.
Okay, yep.
I nominate Tristan for chair.
I second.
All in favor?
I
Make Margaret vice chair.
second.
All in favor?
I
Alright. Perfect.
So up next again, so lastly, council actually adopts the meeting schedule, so as part of their procedural stuff, they did. They your calendar, which is what you had in front of you. So if there's adjustments to that, it's perfectly okay, we can do that. But just wanted you all to take a look. Just a note, I am not gonna be in town in June 23rd. That does not mean you all can't have a meeting, it just means I won't be there, so. Just keep that in mind, if you wanna cancel, she absolutely can. So, yeah. Be noted. Then I also wanna look again at the November schedule. That always falls the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Last year, we kept it on the calendar. We had the meeting, but we didn't have a quorum that ended up coming, so just something to consider there if we wanna look at changing it. We don't necessarily have to change it today. We can adopt as is and then look again in the November or September or October meeting to see if we think there's going to be business we need to address, or if you want to go ahead and try to change it now or look at the dates to change it for a different day. That's perfectly okay too, but I will leave that to you all. If you want to just leave as is for now, we just need a motion to accept the meeting schedule as is, but again, that doesn't mean it can't change later if need be.
Yeah, I'm good with it now. And then we can make a call as we get closer to those. It seems like, yeah, like October, November are always kind of those, and June for you.
And I always hate
all
to
summer.
cancel it since we don't have a supper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just leave it on the schedule. Call the ball closer. So,
Is it typical that we would go for several months without a meeting? I know there were good reasons to cancel them, but we lose a lot of continuity when there's not a meeting. for like
This
3 or
year
4
was
months.
pretty unusual, but we
Okay.
covered it for our August meeting in September. I had a family situation that, you know, that meeting. October fell with they scheduled the volunteer appreciation dinner, so we all got together, but just not in a meeting setting. And then we got to November, where again, we had a meeting, but not enough members showed up for the forum. December, we never have a meeting, but it always falls, our regularly scheduled meeting always falls with holidays. We got snowed out in January, and here we are, like,
Yeah.
this was a very strange year of mishaps. Normally, there's not this much time.
I mean, is it acceptable to plan a meeting for like the second Tuesday if we by chance haven't had a meeting for 3 months?
Yeah,
going
we
forward?
absolutely can change the meeting schedule. The only challenge we run into is, a lot of times finding room space because planning for meetings, so like, there's just different stuff going on in the room, but there are certainly
Are there
ways around that. And if we have pressing business we need to do, that we need to work in a different time, place, whatever, we absolutely can.
There's no rules about it having to be announced or anything like that.
There has to be there is a clerk could tell you exactly what those rules are, but I believe it's like 7 days in advance to know, to advertise a meeting. So if a meeting's canceled, it has to be advertised. Or if a meeting is gonna be rescheduled or a specialty meeting is gonna be called, there are advertising rules. But typically we would know that, and it can't be hey, you guys wanna get together tomorrow? It would definitely be
I think at
That's what
Jim's point, though, the continuity and kind of keeping things flowing.
Right.
But
But there are a lot of
mean-
comments in the community about what are we doing with the
Mhm.
back 40 over here.
Well, and feel free too, I mean, just in between, it doesn't have to be during a meeting, if you just wanna come sit in my office and have a chat or shoot me an email, like, feel free to please come. Always do that if you're getting questions, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just as long as there's dogs.
No dogs. Don't bring your dog to the office.
No, there is, it's not.
Not to the
Just
office.
touchy.
Don't.
Sorry, all right, my bad, my bad. Good, we'll keep going. All right, so the only thing, only thing I foresee
Can we
is
go
like,
back and revisit the leadership?
October, is there a volunteer dinner date? Okay, so that was my only thing, is like maybe. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we shift that one, but if they're 2 different dates, I think it's good. I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Can I get a motion to approve the 2026 meeting schedule?
Make a motion to accept the 2026 meeting schedule.
Seconds.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I gotta go back to the agenda. What's next? FEMA. Project date.
No, it's been on the front of everyone's mind, already mentioned, just wanted to give you all an update on where we are with all of our FEMA, and hurricane projects that we have been very diligently working on. So just here's a little update on the pending projects we have, baseball field drainage, tennis court permanent repairs, river access, or Manning Meadow, that's our north loop in the back, and then the boat launch. So since we met last, baseball field, completed the scope of work, everything has gone through FEMA. We are going through what they call, basically, scoping out a project that's gonna be more resilient for us, but it's gonna cost the same amount of money. So we are in the final stages of approval right now. All our information is been submitted. We are just waiting to hear back from FEMA on that go digger project's been approved. So we do expect that to be happening very soon. And at this point, our timeline for repairs, we're looking at, because we're already in the throes of baseball season and we can still vote with the drainage issues we've been having. We don't want to interrupt baseball season, so we're gonna aim for that June, July to have our field shut down to minimize the impact on our baseball folks. Right now, FEMA is currently shut down due to the federal government shutdown. So, projects are not moving at the moment. But once they hopefully get that federal stuff worked out, jump right back in. And as I said, this project is very close to being, approved for reimbursement, and we'll actually get this money up front so that we can go ahead and get rolling on the project. Tennis court perimeter repairs. So we had some damage to our tennis courts. Underneath, you can see some of our bubbles and that picture we've been dealing with. So we submitted a damage to FEMA. They denied our request almost immediately. We went through the FEMA review process to appeal their decision. So how that works is that once we appeal our decision, that goes to the state, and the state determines whether they think it's a valid appeal. They don't have the decision-making power, but they say, yes, FEMA should reconsider this project. And so the state did side with us that FEMA should reconsider this project. They had 90 days to respond to our appeal. We are surpassed that 90 days and we have not received our response. Again, we shut down. We do, again, hope that happens soon. But in the meantime, trying not to rely on FEMA for this project. The town also has applied through the Office of State Budget Management for what's called an OSBM grant that is specifically to help with hurricane damages that are not going to be funded by FEMA. And we did receive that grant. So that's really great news. And so what's going to happen with that is we'll be able to move forward, get the money. If FEMA does come back and say, hey, yeah, you should not have been denied in your appeal, the great news is we can just give OSBM back their money. So we can get started on this project. One thing that is going to slow down the work of this a little bit is with all the other things going on with the park master plan, we are looking at, would we be better off relocating the locations of the tennis court? And so we are now holding up the repair to make sure we are making the right decision, because essentially to fix these tennis courts, they're going to have to be completely ground up, relayed. It's like building new tennis courts to get them properly fixed. And so as we're doing our master plan, we originally thought, it was already a fixed asset that we didn't, and now we have an opportunity to look at, is there a better, more logical location to put that? So as we get into our next section of conversations around our park master plan, that we will be taking a look over the next several months to see if the answer may be they stay where they are, we replace them exactly where they are, and we move forward. But after doing some of the studies, utility studies, all those things that we're getting ready to launch, there may be a recommendation from the professionals to say, hey, no, you'd be better off to look at it here. And so we just want to make sure we're doing our due diligence before we move forward. Thankfully, at this point, the tennis courts are still usable, although the longer we wait, the bigger cracks get, bigger.
Is it because the concrete shifted or what?
Yeah, so essentially it's two folds of problems. Water basically ran like in the subbase underneath the asphalt, so it's asphalt. And so you can see we have like cracks from underneath where it's separated from the surface, and water has it is like washed out underneath. And so we definitely have these like sinking spots.
Yeah.
And so at this point, there's no safety issues, right? But it's the deterioration where we should have gotten another 25 to 30 years of use out of these tennis courts. We've shortened that life to 1 to 2 more for life. Which is why they're gonna have to get redone. And as I said, my staff check them every day and make sure we're not getting any more sink after every rain. we're out there checking. And then the other place where we haven't re-vetted around every pole is they were set in that asphalt, so that when the wind physically bent the poles, which created a really
Yeah.
substantial cracking. And, you know, when our engineer evaluated it, they're like, this is not a, you know, relay, this is a redo to get it back to pre-storm conditions. So as I said, thankfully, we're lucky, they're still usable in the meantime. Your ball may not bounce quite the right way, you know, everybody thinks they got that shot in and then it bounced the way they weren't expecting. But it's not a safety concern, so they're still usable. We're still able to use them in the meantime as we move forward on finalizing that project. The tennis courts. But the good news is we know it's paid for, whether that money is going to end up ultimately coming from FEMA Public Assistance Program or the OSBM money. So we're excited about that, as we know it's not going to come out of the town funds, which is great.
So we'll work on that.
That's, well, we're going through the process about the relocation. So as we go through the park expansion process of going through all those utility studies, stormwater studies, all those things, they're gonna give an updated recommendation through that project to
That
see if
sounds like a long process.
Yeah, that's what I.
we'll get there of what
Okay.
the timeline kind of looks on that.
Oh,
But yes, I mean, it is gonna slow down the process. So it is.
That's fine.
But yeah, it also, you know, gives us the opportunity to make sure we're getting the best results too, by getting the due diligence done first. So I know the one everyone is most concerned about is our new North Loop project and all that sand silt out there. The good news is, some of you may remember the big debate around this project has been, is it debris or is it a permanent repair? So like what does FEMA constitute as debris and being removed in that capacity, or is it an actual repair project? And they went back and forth a million times, which is why this process has taken so long. The good news is, in October, council said, you know, we are tired of waiting. We're taking over this project. We're not going through the debris people anymore. Let's just move forward. And they're like, we need to get this project moving. So we started that. We've been working with engineers since then. We've got the scope of work. We've got all the bid documents ready. And so at this point, we are on track to release bids for construction next Monday. So Monday, March 1st. So with that, you do have to do, it'll be a public bid opportunity. So it has to be open for 30 days. And then they will have time to construct. And we are asking in the contract that they have substantial completion to the riverbank side. So not inside the meadow, but everything on the outside of the meadow by June 1st, in the hopes that we can at least have some access to the river this summer. So that is how we plan this project. As I said, there'll be a bigger presentation from our engineer and design team at council this Thursday. So either tune in and watch or come to the council meeting, and they can give you all the details. But the good news is we are ready to really get moving on this project. And we, of course, will keep the public informed on, you know, there will have to be some closures back there while they're doing work. There will have to be some of that, and we will do our best via social media and our website and all that to keep people updated on those closures while that work's getting done. Keep folks safe. So,
I
but
don't,
it's exciting. We're close.
I don't remember if we talked about it here, but obviously I watched the town council meetings and stuff. So I don't remember if you talked about it, but, we are not improving anything. Is the lake access separate? Is that a separate slide?
Yes, I have the
Okay.
boat access. Yeah,
I was
so
gonna ask.
you're talking about
I
the
was gonna-
launch.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I was going to ask if you could summarize what is the North Loop project?
So the North Loop project will include everything in that back walking
Trail. Yeah.
including the parking lot, except the boat launch. That's been pulled out, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. So
Okay.
that's removing all the debris. Our biggest issue there is restoring our drainage system. Like water no longer drains from that area. And that's, so they're gonna re-put in the swells. They're gonna re-put all the culverts, the water conveyance systems, all of that is, it's a massive grading project is really what it is. And they will haul off all that extra sand and silt. I think in the estimated project, it's about 16,000 cubic yards of sand and silt. They're estimating that will be hauled off from back there. So it's a big job. I mean, it is a big project, which is why it has taken so long to get here. People look at it, they're like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. They don't understand the sheer volume
Yeah.
of I mean, John, he does dump trucks, and how many how many loads of dump truck of sand and silt is that hauling off? It's substantial.
15 yards a ton, that's it.
Yep. So
It's a lot
think
of
about
truck.
16,000 cubic yards, and it's just enough time. So, but it's really exciting. We're finally ready to move on the bulk of that project. So by, the end of this summer, we are gonna have to do again vegetation rehabilitation, some of those things, but we will have some access to the river by the end of the summer, which is
Good.
very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that
good.
is good.
To the boat launch, as Tammy mentioned, so the boat launch has been broken out from the rest of this. And there are complications of replacing this for a couple of reasons. One, there was a geological shift in the river, right? So the river no longer flows where it used to. And so the boat launch basically no longer connects to the river. So you can get down the little steps, but you still have to drag your boat to get to the water because of that geological shift. The other complication is the town has passed, there's a floodplain hazard ordinance the town has passed. And basically what that states is you can only fix things in the floodplain or develop things in the floodplain in the footprint that it originally was. So we can fix the boat launch, but we still are running into the issues of it's no longer connects to the river. And so that's something we worked through. Town staff did look at a revised concept that better connected it to the river. And but it would take an ordinance change at this point for us to legally be able to do that work. And town council was not ready to make that decision to do that. So we've kind of put that on hold. We are still going through the FEMA process to do what they call an in-kind repair. So essentially we can repair and replace the boat launch as it currently sits. We are going to have that separation. So we're still going through that process because if something does not change with the ordinance, we still want to be able to get people down to the river, even if they have to drag their boat another 20 feet to actually get to the river. We want to be able to at least put back what was there. So we are still going through that process. But there are other conversations around the floodplain hazard ordinance. But essentially we cannot apply for grants, do anything. We were looking to, could we make it more accessible for people, make it, a handicap accessible ramp and those sort of things. But as our ordinance currently sits, we cannot do that. But we are continuing to move forward, and it's not a dead, I don't want you to think like, oh, this is just done. It's just it makes it a much more complicated conversation that council is and willing to have. A lot of it through this is going to be addressed through the UDO process anyway, if you followed that process. So it's not dead in the water, so to say, but it's just something that we have a couple of barriers, which is making it not as easy as just, hey, let's go fix this and make it better than it was, like some other things.
How
So
far did FEMA move down the river?
what do you,
know, it looked pretty from the bridge, cause they was trees and.
where they cut out, they did to that like first curve of removing trees and debris.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did to like that curve where there's the picnic table and the bench and that sandy area, kind of at that big curve. So they did where the boat launch is and the fishing pier and pretty much that straightaway, but I don't believe they went past that
yeah.
in that section. So.
Mostly people get in the river up here, just go down to French Broad.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they do.
So,
Yep, they do. So anyway, so that, as I said, something we're continuing to move forward with FEMA of that replace in kind. And if that gets approved and there's not been a resolution otherwise, you still want to make sure we're going to have that. But that is why the boat launch has not been included in the larger scale project. So that ordinance. Anybody have any questions about those FEMA projects? Anything else been? The good news is on every, I know we've been saying this for a while, but I do feel once they're back working, we are very close on a lot of these projects on all our approvals. We have seen a lot more motion and going through because it's got to go through like hazard prevention and all these other processes, and we have been ticking through all those. You can see it on our little grant portal we have of like where it goes from place to place, and we've seen a lot more movement in the last 4 to 5 months than we saw previously. So I am very encouraged by the process.
How long are they, how long are the bids open? You said March 3rd first?
It's at 30
Monday.
days, so we have to
Oh.
publicly bid. Yeah, so that's North Carolina law for a publicly bidded project. It has to be open for 30 days.
Alright.
So yeah, so they'll have till April 2nd where we'll do a public bid opening and then we'll award a contract from there. So
Does the town select the, excuse me, does the town select the firm or does the engineering company select the firm?
So by North Carolina law, it will go to the lowest qualified bidder. So it will be whoever submits, if we get 10 companies and as long as they meet the qualifications, so if they're licensed, they have the experience necessary that we laid out in the contract, it will go to whoever bids the lowest.
And you see those.
Yeah, so it's a public bid, like by law, you have to do a public bid opening. So we literally will sit in probably this room at 11 o'clock on the 2nd and publicly open those. Then what'll happen is our engineering firm will take those, make sure there was no that they turned in complete bids, that they didn't miss anything. So they'll do the whole calculation. And then they will make a recommendation to us on the lowest qualified bidder. So anybody who turned in a complete bid form, they meet the minimum qualifications. Unless the town had a really good reason of saying, no, they're not qualified because they really screwed up some other project, like
Right.
they would have to have a really good reason to not go with the lowest qualified bidder. On that. Yep. Any other questions? You're welcome. It's a public bid opening, so anybody's more than welcome to join me. All right. So the update that onto so that was the cleanup side, but at the same time, we are still moving forward on all our new amenities that we have talked through and planned this year. So I just wanted to give you all a quick update on park expansion property and the maintenance facility. So just want to give you a heads up. So this will also, the contract for the engineers doing all the, again, some utility work, utility studies, stormwater stuff. You got to go through all these phase 1 environmental assessments, endangered species, all these things that are going to happen. They are saying this work is probably going to take till December to get through all the processes of the surveys, the delineations, to get through all this first phase of due diligence, as they say, to get to the point where we're ready to move forward. So that contract will go to town council this Thursday. So again, we got a couple of big items on the the FEMA update from those engineers, as well as, and the engineers that are chosen to do this project will also be on site. I don't know if they're on site or Zoom into that meeting, but they will be there to present for that project. But that's, once that is, they're ready to hit the ground running. As I said, it is a process to get through to do all the soil testings, all the things we need to know before we can actually put boots on the ground and start developing that property. We'll have all that work done between now and December of this year. So that's exciting. So again, just, yeah, so they'll give us, phasing, cost estimates, grant opportunities, and they will look at, again, like we talked about the tennis court, updating the site master plan. Now they're not gonna be like, oh, this amenity, like we all worked on. They're gonna keep what's there, but look to see if there's, once we have all the information about where utilities can go better and where roads should go and where our soils are better, they will help us tweak that master plan to, make sure things go where they should go in a logical and cost-effective way, so.
Nice.
So that'll be happen through December, which is great. And at the same time, you know, we know, building a new maintenance facility to house the increased staff needs and equipment needs that we are gonna need for that project. So we have kicked off that project as well. So we are currently in the, needs assessment stage. We had that kickoff meeting right after the holidays, end of January, probably. And we are expecting to have, all the design work, ready to bid by the end of this fiscal year, so the end of
Is it
June.
a new building?
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all ever purchase that land behind the?
On Hooper Lane.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, yes, so that's the site we're looking at for the maintenance facility.
Okay.
Yeah, that was purchased 2, 3, or 4 years ago, probably. So yeah, they're working on all that now, and they're going through everything, to make sure, again, we don't wanna build a building that's only gonna last us a couple of years. We wanna make sure we are building something that's gonna sustain us, either through, its ability to house everything we need now and into the future, or may at least design it where it is expandable for future needs. So that's all being looked into with this project. We're actually going to do a site visit with my staff and a couple of other local public works type facilities to kind of gauge our needs and interests and all that. And then we should, see that now. Of course, that's gonna, there's no money to build this year, so that is something that we will be asking for in next year's budget, is the actual construction costs. That will happen, at least start next fiscal year. It may be, it may fall over 2 years, so start next fiscal year and go to the following fiscal year, but we'll just have to see how the budget works out and whether the priority is as a fall project or a spring project for 27, so. But we're moving on it and it's exciting. And as I said, during the budget visioning, council seemed very supportive of both the maintenance project and the park expansion. So, so that's it. Anybody have any questions on those projects? That they're all moving forward. This is the boring part where everybody was like, you know, why aren't you doing anything? But this is where all the real work gets done, so we can make sure it's done right going forward. So it's really, I know it may not seem exciting to the public, but it's really exciting to us.
I do
Get
have
the-
a couple of questions.
Sure.
So, that, they will tweak the
Potentially, they may come back with all their studies and be like, oh, it was great.
during their design, like during this until the end of December, is that when? that-
Yes, so by 2027, we will have, you know, an updated master plan that will also include what we need, what is proposed for phase 1 project. So the hope is that we get ready for this and then we'll be immediately ready to move into the next stage, which logically should be starting design in phase 1 and construction. So, but I mean, at best, again, I know everybody gets excited and everybody hates how long construction takes, but you know, raking ground on any of those sort of things, you're talking 2028 at the earliest, that kind of thing. Sure. We are working through, like, with the FEMA projects and some other things to work on we've jokingly been calling it a phase 0.5 to get some access, some walking trails. So once we can get that stuff cleaned up back there, and have safe access, we are working on a 0.5 to at least have some basic access, and they'll be working through that as part of this process as well. That will come before we can start the true phase 1 master plan. So, yeah.
My other question is about the maintenance building. Do you plan to move your office to the maintenance building? Or
I do not, no. We would move, at this point, now again, we'll have to go through the full assessment and study and if it falls, yeah. But I do believe I would be better suited
to stay
with
there?
administration as well as Michelle.
I thought,
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
Yep.
It'd be over here.
And I did forget to mention, part of this study as well will be to look at repurposing the existing maintenance facility. So that is something that is also being looked at as part of this process.
Cool.
Any other questions? No.
let's do a track trail.
Yeah, so track trail program. So we started the track trail program back in 2019. You can tell by the picture. So holding that little ribbon there are my two small children who are now one is driving and is about to enter middle school. So it's been a little bit since we opened our track trail program. This was initially done through a Healthy People, Healthy Carolina grant. They gave us the startup money to be able to install the brochure and what it is if you haven't done it yet. So it's, if you notice when you do walk to the North Loop, there's educational brochures that people can grab. There's a QR code and kids can scan and they can track. And there's these track trails all over the United States. And so kids can scan, they can track that they did their hiking. And this track trail program actually, like, it gives them prizes. They can win a little set of binoculars or a bug ID kit or like some really cool stuff. And it just helps encourage folks to get out and hike and gives them the opportunity. Now, a lot of people participate in that program. A lot of people use the trail and the educational materials that don't even track or participate in that program. We get a good bit of use out of it, but our contract has expired with them. And so basically just wanted to bring up, this will have, because it's a multi-year contract, we'll have to go to council for approval. So ultimately the town's responsibility is we'd have to maintain the communication with the Kids in Parks program. We have to upkeep the trailhead and the kiosk. So again, if there's landscaping issues, vandalism, someone rips off the brochure holder, that's on us that we have to do that. We restock the brochures and we are responsible for purchasing additional ones. You can see down there, we go through about 2,000 brochures every year. So it costs us about $250 a year to be able to maintain that service. And we get, as I said, a good bit of use out of it. Again, trail safety and accessibility. Just promote the track trail locally, which we do on our website, and just let them know if there's any. And in their turn, they're the ones who do, they keep up the dashboard, they do the communication with the folks that are participating in the track trails, programs, all that sort of stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah, they send me, I think, a monthly email, and it's not a ton. I'd say maybe we get 8 or so a month, sometimes even less. But we know through the amount of brochures we go through, substantially more use it
Yeah.
than are participating in their track trail program. So that's it. I included in your packets a copy of the contract. But mostly just looking for a recommendation on whether you think this is a program worthwhile for us to continue. As I said, we spend about $250 a year in brochures, and occasionally have to replace, usually it's the brochure holder that breaks off that someone pulled a little too hard or something. It's usually not done viciously. But other than that, there's not a huge cost, but we do get a good amount of use out of it. So just wanted to check in with y'all, and if you're interested in continuing with the program, you all can discuss either way, but either recommend to council that they either continue with the program or recommend that they do not.
Any reason not to do it? Any downsides to it?
I see no downsides. As I said, it's a very low cost, fairly high impact, especially once we can get that area restored. You can pick very specific brochures based on our area. So we have a great one that is like all about the river base. So like you could be down there and learn about the river. We had one about wildflowers. So when our meadow is restored, like, right now, obviously in the current condition of our area, it's not as, but once we get everything back up and going, there is no downside. I see you doing it. So.
Seems like since we already have the kiosk and we're just refilling it at this point, might as well keep it there.
I'm on
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
great program. So
Sure.
why not?
Someone could just make a
Cool.
motion then that you recommend to council to continue with the program and that they approve the contract.
I make a motion that we recommend to council that we continue with the Track the Trails program.
Second, all in favor?
I
2026 event.
With that, I am going to turn it over to Michelle.
Goody goody. Got
guys worked and learned, should be work well, you know, it's, I'll just not have to talk at all, so then. Much the same events as last year, do I need help, so our request is coming out, server day. Server day. Adding work, so it's kind of reflected back to last year. I think Mel Riverdale only had like one volunteer each 2 hours, but I think Darby will help. It's just a lot more cool stuff that's going on. And then maybe nights, an extra person for that was definitely helpful. It's past years. Definitely think it's going to be successful again this year. So I definitely added a person in there as well. Party in the park, this Splash Bash was very, very successful. We're gonna part of that community for it. So
That's why I signed up. I heard how it was a huge hit. I have no other reason to go. I specifically didn't choose movie nights because 7 o'clock is like my bedtime.
Okay.
So like, not doing that again. So I was strategic. Yeah.
yeah. So much. Tell the story. Yes, of course. I'll talk about a movie night. I'll keep it short, John. Single mom, just kind of struggling with that tent. And so saw Kobe, Michelle's son. He really into help out. He was a single mom trying to get her tent on. I was thinking he'd say, okay, but no, Kobe says, do you know that? Wow, yeah. So thank you, Kobe. It's for helping that.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a positive for us to have your kids helping us.
Yeah.
All here for my. I think we succeeded in that, so I know we're gonna succeed again for so I'm looking forward to it. We're super successful that we were able to pull off that were new last year. Excited about the new thing. It's a great benefit. So we're definitely gearing up for Mills River Day. We have lots of meetings. So excited that you guys were able to come. I think it was this year. Other fest is gonna be really fun too. I'll have small partners really coming to help me with that. Something really interesting. So that's definitely growing. So hopefully each event is definitely growing. So many of us. So I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys can respond to that, just let me know. It never needs to change. If you sign up for something, you know, that's in October and if something changes, just let me know. If you guys were rock solid this past year, I really appreciate that. Really, guys. Like who's over here? Oh, and it's still. That was on. Yeah, your Judge Tammy's already responded, so y'all better
Right.
hang on here.
Whoa,
First.
whoa. All right, next meeting, March 24th.
March 24th. In this room.
Cool. Any objections? Can I get a motion to, are we 10 minutes early? Yes, 7:02. Yeah, anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Somebody?
Motion to adjourn? Yes.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. Good meeting.
Thank you.
That was the best one.
First, start the
You
show
got the
strong.
first one in 26